Okay. There's noisy people outside my window. They don't understand the importance, the magnitude of the work that I'm doing, you know. I'm sure if they did, they would be a little quieter, but as it stands, they're determined to spoil this vital production. It's a really productive use of my time. Let's see. So Ness has just said they're gonna go to the waterfall, to the factory, and they're gonna find Chris. Great. The aura Pokemon had calmed down long enough to think logically about what had happened when he tried to find the factory behind the waterfall, his sixth sense telling him that there wasn't anything there. But how could it be possible that there's a factory behind the waterfall? He asked Ness and the others. I used my aura sensors earlier in the day to find the location of those accursed Mr. Saturns outside, and there was nothing anywhere. After he voiced out his troubled fact, the children looked confused at one another, until somehow there was a strong gust of wind that appeared out of the blue on the spot they were all standing. The four covered their faces when the wind picked up quickly in force, but it died down quickly just as soon as it had arrived from the east. Ugh! What's with this wind? Ness asked. Juff didn't cover his eyes due to wearing glasses, so he was the only one from the group who noticed that the random gust had brought in something, or rather, someone else along with it. He was very much shocked to spot another child about their age standing behind them, holding a meditating position while standing up. Wearing nothing more than a white gi uniform, it's like Ryu from Street Fighter, right? With a black belt and black thin shoes. His head was nearly bald, save for a very thin braided ponytail on top. The child had appeared from somewhere, though he was busy pressing his palms together in front of his chest. Guys? There's another guy behind us. The other three uncovered their faces and gasped after seeing the kid standing there. Paul, however, had enough prior information about the kid that she said, Wait, you're the other chosen child I've seen in my dreams. I remember you well from them, she said, making Ness and Juff look at her surprised. What? He's the last chosen child? Ness asked her. That's awfully convenient. He just happens to show up on their doorstep. Practically. Oh, fuck, what kind of voice should I do for him? I'll do my Bane Connery accent. That'll really give him the appropriate gravitas, won't it? You know? This fucking, martial arts warrior. That'll suit him just perfectly. Correct, the fourth child spoke without opening his eyes, startling the children except for the stern Lucario. As to answer your outsider companion's question from earlier, there is definitely a hidden contraption known as a factory behind the waterfall you all passed by earlier on in the day. Lucario blinked at that statement. How can you tell that much? Who are you, and how do you even know what we've done until now? He asked with a wary glare, unaware completely about who the child was for having never seen much of the game's plot. I shall answer you every question in order, the child said, opening his wary eyes. I can tell that much because I was using my PSI ability to watch the world from above while I was busy taking a rigorous martial arts training. Pretentious cunt. Due to how destiny has decided my own fate from the moment of my birth, I was informed by the elders of my homeland to do battle against the evil entity known as Gygus, that I would travel the world over alongside the other chosen children known as Ness, Paula Polestar, and Juff Andonuts. He looked at his companions. I am Pooh. I am Pooh from Dalam, a tranquil town located in the Chomo region of the world. There is no further need to answer the last question. The first answer holds the same importance to it. While Paula smacked Ness's hand when she heard him chuckle at the child's name, Juff pinched his chin and thought about the boy. So, you're saying you're aware of what's been going on all the way over here? That is amazing. The region of Chomo is almost on the other side of the world from where we are, he pointed out. Precisely, Pooh said, though I am afraid I have joined your journey prematurely. Paula tilted her head. Why is that? We'd certainly welcome your addition to the team now, she said. You see, I am still in need of dire training before I can be defined as one of your own, but circumstances have forced me to call it off for the time being. The reason why is because the world has been invaded by an otherworldly army known as the Subspace Army. I am sure you know the one you heard from the otherworldly travelers, Lucario and Chris, the latter who has been kidnapped by them. Lucario growled at that reminder. I know a factory is hiding in that location. The enemy disguised their hiding spot. It sounds a little Irish, almost. The enemy disguised their hiding spot using their strange methods to camouflage the factory. But they never realized that the supernatural copy of a peaceful landscape they put up doesn't match the original life energy of our world's nature. This is how I know they are there, to keep outsiders like us from pinpointing their hideout. That reminder was what made Lucario all the more desperate, and he couldn't bother to waste any more time after knowing where his trainer was being held hostage. Growling loudly as he turned round, he leapt down the high height of the cliffs to the ground floor and sped out from the valley towards the Grapefruit Falls in search of Chris. The first three children got alarmed to see the creature rush out that quickly. He just ran off, Paula said. I do not know for certain if he will be able to handle the enemy alone, Pooh commented as he walked forward to them. He is rather unhinged and beastly. He could destroy everything in the factory if left alone. Come, we must make haste to the waterfall at Grapefruit Falls. The other chosen children were feeling a little sick that so much was happening so quickly without their intervention, though they agreed with Pooh's idea to chase the Aura Pokemon down. They spotted a long slope of rocks caused by a landslide going down to the ground floor, which they used to get down faster. The psychic children used their PSI prowess to float down and step down from rock to rock. But only a very careful and slow Juff tried his best to avoid tumbling down. So, are you going to stay with us for the rest of the journey? Ness asked Pooh. For the time being, until a Subspace army is driven off, Pooh said as he hopped down on one foot without switching to the other, I will have to depart to resume my training at Dalam. I wish to help you out against this threat so that our efforts to destroy Gygas are not stopped this soon. Pooh joined your team. Ness sighed and looked dull. As always, when things look very good for us, it's all too good to be true. All the strong guys always want to leave us behind after a certain point, he said. Patience is not a virtue everyone shares, Pooh muttered, slightly surprised at the boys' comment as they made it down the cliffs and started rushing back to the falls. Only Paula noticed that Juff had tripped closer to the lower portion of the landslide and helped him get back up on his feet. Grapefruit Falls. Lucario was deathly desperate about his trainer's fate. He kept beating himself up in his head about how he let those infernal creatures get the better of him, both in that small moment of realization. Can't read today. With that small hint that he could still be alive, the Aura Pokemon was understandably hopeful that he could still rescue him in time. Though, at the same time he was hopeful about it, the anger boiling in his veins was putting a stop to his rational thinking. Once he had made it to the fall, he never stopped to use his Aura Sense to track down his trainer's aura inside the waterfall, but it never came up. He tried so many times to overexert his power to see what was behind it. He was standing there next to the shoreline that he unwillingly was quiet for a long time, until footsteps that he utterly ignored came from the direction of the valley. Rushing out from the tunnel that connected the falls in the valley, Ness and Pooh were the first ones to come out from it, and noticed Lucario staring at the long waterfall to the north. Relieved that the area didn't get a crater just yet, the two children went up to join the Aura Pokemon, who ignored their presence entirely. Oh good, you didn't get an urge to blow up the waterfall in a fit of rage, Ness said. His words were heard, snapping Lucario out from actually blowing up the falls after careful, if not really desperate, thought. I thought he was desperate. He looked down at the two children and looked back at the waterfall. Chris is somewhere behind that waterfall. I can't even detect a single aura within the ground behind it, he reaffirmed. I said before that they hid their hideout very well against supernatural powers like PSI and aura sensors, Pooh said, staring up ahead at the waterfall, while Paula and Juff came out from the tunnel and rejoined their side. Juff tried to catch his breath all the while everyone was focused on the crashing waters. But there is no mistake. We must proceed into the backside of the waterfall to find some sort of entrance. If you are all prepared for what is to... Pooh already saw Lucario rushing up ahead. Of course, it was a little, shall we say, too good to be true that he had gained the sacred skill of being patient now. Follow our war dog, Ness commanded his group, not concerned about Juff's huffing pleas to let him rest to catch his breath, forcing himself to follow the other energetic children at a slow pace. They quickly walked near the shore of the lake to the area close to the waterfall. It turned out that the shore path continued all the way to the backside of the waterfall, as Pooh had said. The area felt very humid the closer they got to the big wall of water reflecting their bodies very loosely, and it was getting very loud just standing closer and closer to the crashing water making foam near the shore. Looking up and down, the children of their really peeved Lucario spotted a wide enough entry behind the water that concealed a wall. They carefully stepped under the waterfall and walked alongside a grassy hidden path that took them all the way to the centre, where they suddenly spotted a white metal door of all things engraved to the wall. "Mystery door found. I know something big is hiding behind it," Paula said. That door was the lead Lucario ever wanted to see if he had hoped to rescue Chris. After having used his aura sense for far too long, he finally snapped when he thought the very, very small chance that his trainer was done for behind that frustratingly despicable door. In all fairness, he was thinking way too many gruesome thoughts about the blasted door that it was a clear sign he wasn't going to take it anymore. He needed to bust some skulls. But then again, he had some restraint left that kept him from blowing stuff up. Juff inspected the door closely. "It is kind of strange that there isn't much more than a simple door in here," he noted. "Should we knock on the door? I remember that the Mr. Saturn said something about waiting 30 seconds in front of it. The W word was too much to bear. A war cry howled louder than the crashing water behind it, and Juff instinctively stepped aside as a flying fist flew over his head. Colliding very hard against the door and promptly sent it flying back inside on the other side. The children then saw a very anxious Lucario growling like a mad animal as he rushed inside, and immediately alerted the entire stronghold about their presence. The chosen children weren't even looking inside to see the loud explosions suddenly booming out and causing several quakes. They could see the blue glow from the explosions shining out from the broken entrance, even accompanied by the Aura Pokemon's loud screams demanding, "Where is my trainer? Where? Tell me where! Yeah!" 1 second. Juff broke the silence from the outside as he and the others took a peek from the entrance. He couldn't even bother to wait 1 second to enter discreetly. "Well, that puts an end to our plan to sneak inside," Paul noted. Pooh noted, looking a tad disappointed. There's no one even called Paul. "Hey, we got to rush inside to save those big-nosed freaks before Lucario squashes their noses for me," Ness said. He received three odd looks from his party. "Don't judge me. I won't live that down." Pooh was politely enough to avoid making a snide remark about Onetians as he and his party moved inside the smoking factory. That's racist. Previously a normal hidden factory that had no smoke and the repeated quakes caused by explosions from a deranged creature. All he did was punch the door. How did it cause explosions? How fucking hard did he hit that door? And look, okay, I know he has aura powers and whatever bullshit can be contrived next, but like, you know, just punching the door away shouldn't cause best not to question.